Welcome back to AI Search, the podcast about AI and ML in every industry. We're so excited to have Vedran here today from Treblle to talk about how APIs and AI work together. Hey Vedran, how are you doing today?
Hi Tanya, thanks for having me on, and I'm doing pretty good. I had a early start to the morning, but I had a lot of caffeine, so let's try to do this while it lasts. Yeah.
High energy, let's do it. So let me know a little bit about Treblle and what are you guys doing with the revolution of AI and how that's kind of attaching onto your business.
Yeah, of course. So Treblle, basically, we like to say that we're an API intelligence platform, and we essentially help organization, companies, and teams kind of make API-related decisions in less than 60 seconds. So we've got a slew of solutions, everything from API observability, analytics, governance, documentation, to even in the last, I would say, year and a half, we started working a lot more closely with AI and implemented a lot of different AI tooling into the product to make it even more usable, especially when it comes to, for example, things like code generation, etc., etc. But we've been around from, I think, 2021. We grew to about 150,000 users. We process roughly about 2.4 billion API requests per month, and we do use a lot of AI on to make the data around that even smarter.
Nice. Does AI for you also help with cybersecurity threats on your APIs, and how can kind of people, be aware that AI can be helpful?
So at first I was actually pretty skeptical about AI, probably because of all the hype that went around last year. But we started building, the first solution that we built was actually about API documentation.
Okay.
So if you think about documentation, it's like one of those things that developers first and foremost hate to do, hate to write, hate to read. So we started thinking, how could we basically get the AI to understand the API documentation and basically do all the grunt work of you setting up data models, of you setting up like boilerplate integration codes. So we were actually able to do that, and we can actually, we've got this little guy that we call Alfred. He's our AI assistant, and he can understand any kind of API documentation in the world without any pre-training needed.
Nice.
And it can work on any LLM that you have on-prem or in the cloud, and it can generate data models and integration code, or you can even talk to it about improving the API. And that's been number one. And secondly, when it comes to security and kind of threats specifically, I think that the world is becoming more sophisticated generally, especially when it comes to API attacks. A lot of it happens at runtime, which is what we specifically kind of target, and where we have the best solutions.
Okay.
Because we combine both the data from observability and the data from our security product. And we actually use AI there to try to figure out when people are doing what's called user agent attacks, where they start with one a user agent right now and then switch to like 5 others, etc., etc. So that's a common theme that's very like complicated to understand if you're not a supercomputer able to crunch a lot of data in a very small amount of time. That's number one. And secondly, we basically used to do things like SQL injection checks very manually. Like I wrote the first algorithm. It was like I think like 500 lines of code where it was just basically SQL injection commands. And now with AI, we could basically just execute that with one single API call. So
nice.
We have started implementing it more and more into the majority of the product.
Cool. How did the 150,000 customers, using your APIs, how are they, responding to this incorporation of AI? Are they all using it? Is it built into your product, or is it something they're volunteering to use?
Yeah, it's generally we tend to, whenever we release something, on our product, everybody gets to use it and try it by default. So Alfred comes built in on any API portal that we essentially have in the platform, as well as the security solution. People probably don't even know that it's running on top of AI, but essentially everything is on for them default. The only thing that they can choose to basically implement on their own publicly available developer portal is we offer Alfred as a service, meaning you could basically embed Alfred directly into your publicly available developer portal, and Alfred can actually run there and give you suggestions and code directly there, which is very convenient for a lot of engineers and product teams that are essentially building all of these different.
What's the response rate on that versus someone who's using, let's say generic ChatGPT, having kind of a customized version of it?
So I think generally the reason why this works really great is because we again have all of that data from the observability product, and we literally can first take that data, generate the documentation itself in the background, and essentially feed it to Alfred. So for you as a customer of Treblle, you don't have to do anything. You basically just install our SDK, and everything else is done for you. And at the end of the day, you have an AI assistant that basically is trained on your API and works anywhere your engineers are. And I think that at the beginning of 2024, that was one of the best selling products that we were offering. And I was actually surprised to see how many enterprise companies actually had their own AI models deployed, either in private cloud or even on-prem. And we actually had to make adjustments to Alfred to make sure that it works with any model, be it on-prem or in the cloud.
Yeah, I think that's what you're doing is incredibly revolutionary, and I wish that more people would actually know about it instead of doing APIs the old way. I think, how would you go about educating, younger people who are just getting into engineering, just getting into tech teams, or maybe even product team leads who are, still assigning tasks like the old way of doing APIs and not using a platform to kind of safeguard and, optimize their processes?
I think obviously that's a combination of marketing and education. Both require time, but I think actually more and more people, especially younger folks, are, I would say, more open to tech like AI, because I know, for example, one of the first adopters of AI in our company was the marketing team, right? Because they could just write, instead of writing like 4 pages by themselves, they could at least get like a draft from an AI model or something, LLM, and basically go off that draft. And I think that works really great. I think for products like Treblle, I think the way that you basically market that, or the way that we're approaching that, is with Alfred as a service, meaning we want to make sure that you can actually experience Alfred on any publicly available developer portal. One thing that is really specific to APIs is that every API generally has a developer portal that a lot of engineers access. And if you do want to use that developer API, you need to go to that developer portal. So in one hand, those guys and those teams already do the marketing to get those engineers there. So our job is basically to only sell or convince them. And a lot of the folks that we talk to and a lot of customers that we have basically use this both internally to basically power their entire API landscape, which is usually like thousands of APIs, or even publicly on like these individual APIs.
Yeah, they try it somewhere else.
Exactly,
and then it kind of builds chain reaction.
Exactly. I think once a couple of people, like we had one of our biggest customers was a telecom from US, and as soon as you kind of start talking about how they're using it and how much improvement it has, because the number one thing that I think Alfred is really good at is, like I said, engineers hate reading documentation. Like, I'm an engineer. I didn't even read the questions that you prepared. So we hate reading, but essentially this guy just makes my job much more easier, where I could just say, hey, I need to create an article, or just show me how to do it.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
That's about it.
Well, that's good. I think the laziness of engineers is a good thing. It's a problem-solving thing. So that's really useful.
Most of the engineers are at its core, pretty lazy people. So
it's okay. What are the next steps? What's the future looking like for you guys?
So I think we just launched our version 3 of the product, which is much more enterprise focused. One thing that we've learned in the last, I would say, year or so is that the enterprise API landscape is beyond what I ever imagined it could be, right? So I don't know, we're a startup, maybe we have like 10 APIs. I don't know how many you guys have, but I'm assuming it's somewhere between 5 to 10. And most of these really big enterprise companies, like anybody from Fortune 500, these guys have thousands of APIs. I think there was some research recently that usually if you have like more than 10,000 employees, it's like 2 APIs per employee. If you're at 5,000, it's like 1.5 API per employee. So a lot of APIs, a lot of microservices. And the problems that they have are radically different than what we originally set out to solve. So essentially, with this new version, we brought in a slew of products like cataloging, which helps them kind of organize the entire landscape, which works very well with Alfred, then basically understands the landscape, can generate code, so their internal teams are like dramatically faster in pushing out things, as well as some other products like compliance, and security improvements, which essentially help all of these organizations stay a lot more safe. So I think you're gonna see us do more in that part of the realm, and maybe with some other products we're gonna go after smaller companies and startups, but I think the focus is gonna mostly be on these bigger enterprise companies.
Yeah, it's great to optimize those enterprise companies is, a huge goal, and it's a good thing.
One thing that unfortunately I come to learn is that I don't know, like our journey, like we started bottom up, targeting engineers, which I think we learned that in a lot of these organizations, if you're an engineer, you don't actually have a lot of decision-making power. So even when we have a lot of free customers that use the product, which is great, but they, as soon as you start talking to them about, hey, can we bring this into the company? Can we get it into a commercial model? Usually they don't have enough power to bring you in. And even if they do, it starts to become a top-down sales model where essentially you need a deck, you need all the materials and everything else. So we said, hey, why don't we just start exactly where we're going to end up either way.
Awesome. No, that's great. Well, I wish you all the luck, and I'm sure I'm going to keep following your company and see what's going on, as I have been.
Thanks for being a fan. I really appreciate it.
Of course, I have my Treblle t-shirt and mug on my table.
And I am a fan of OmniSearch. I've known Marian for a long time now, at least in the API world, in the startup world. So kudos to what you guys are doing. It's really incredible. And Marian still owes me basically a JSON search product for OmniSearch, but I guess we'll get there.
We'll get him done on it. My promise.
Give him pizza and Coke over a weekend, and he could probably get it done.
That's true. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can watch AI Searched on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you.